And in this video I'm going to show you how to make this awesome little shrimp tank complete with driftwood canopy and an actual bubbling volcano. Yes, that is a volcano, kind of, sort of. We're going to use super easy to grow plants and just have some fun. Let's get started. And the tank I'm using is a 10-litre curved glass tank, 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres by 25 centimetres high. Super awesome little curved glass aquariums. It comes with the little tiny plastic bits that the lid sits on. We're not going to use those or the lid in this build, but it does come with a lid if you want it for fish and things that jump out. It also comes with a little white base, which is actually attached to the aquarium. So you don't need any foam or polystyrene or anything like that. They are super cool little glass tanks. They look plastic or perspex, but they're actual glass. And the first layer of substrate is going to be this stuff here. And this is a pelletized dirt that's actually been baked to get rid of all the organics out of it. And the organics is the stuff that decomposes, turns into ammonia and nitrites. So this is your Diamax base soil. So it won't produce any ammonia or anything. It will absorb water, and then it's going to start to alter your water chemistry. So it's going to drag your pH and the mineral content down, and it's going to be slow release for plants. It works perfectly for shrimp because it actually alters the water chemistry if you've got hard alkaline water, and it will drag it down to more neutral to slightly acidic pH. So that is our first layer. I've used about a litre of that substrate in the bottom of this tank. This is our second layer, and we're going to cap off that substrate with just normal black pebbles. So they're around about that 2 to 3 mil sort of size. Any bigger and you're going to find that a lot of detritus is going to fall in between the grains of sand or gravel, and that's going to mess your water quality up. So this is a perfect sort of size for the shrimp to sort of eat the biofilm off, and it's not going to build up a lot of gunk or anything like that. And the idea of capping off the substrate at the bottom is that you can still gravel vac this if you have to get rid of any detritus build up over time. So that is our capped layer. So now that I've got my substrate in the tank and we've got about 1 kilo of the black gravel on top of our active Diamax substrate, we're going to sort out filtration. This is the filter we're going to use, and it is a tiny, tiny little sponge filter. They are super small. Look at the size of that box. So in the box, you get the sponge filter, you get a little bit of tubing, and then you get a little regulator that you can adjust the flow to the tubing. Very easy filter. The whole thing comes apart. That is the little sponge bit there. So that is your full filtration. And then this little base bit will come apart for cleaning as well. It's a mini version of the bigger sponge filters that you've probably seen in other aquariums. But that is all we're going to use. And the only problem with the sponge filters is they look terrible. They are pretty noticeable, even the smallest size ever in the tank. You can hide it behind driftwood and what have you. We're going to go a step further, and we're going to hide it by making a volcano-shaped rock structure around it. Yes, we are. We're going to use this stuff, and if you haven't seen my video on the Diamax Compost Seal, it is awesome stuff. Roughly what it is it's fluff that you add super glue to, and then it will bond two rocks together. So we're going to get some rocks like this stuff here. We're going to join them together, and we're going to make a structure to hide our filtration. And just like that, we've made a giant rock structure. Hopefully this will work. We've got our little area in there for our sponge filter. That's going to sit in the bottom of our tank, and our bubbles are going to come out the top. So it's sort of like a reverse volcano. It's a shrimp volcano, that's what it is. So as you can see, I've just used the compost seal in between the two little bits of rocks. If you want to see a video on how to use this stuff, there'll be a link at the end of this video, so just watch that video and it'll show you everything you need to know. But it will bond any rocks together, it'll even bond driftwood to rocks, and so on and so on. But that is our little rock structure. We're going to get our little sponge filter. We're going to tuck it in there. Oh, it does fit. How good is that? Perfect. And then our bubbles are going to come out the top. So that is our filtration. We're going to hide this little cord somehow in the back. But that is going to be our main structure for the shrimp. So with these little cords, obviously you can hide it with plants or what have you. We're just going to use a little bit of silicone and hide that along the seam so that you don't actually see it. So now that our filtration is hidden, the way that these filters work is you need to hook this up to one of these, which is an air pump. This sits outside the tank. It's got a high-low switch on it. You have a little bit of airline tubing going from this, and if you're going to have this below the water level, you need one of these one-way valves. And all the one-way valve does is it stops the water siphoning back into the pump, which will stuff the pump up if there's a power cut, because naturally gravity is going to siphon back into the pump. So we have a little bit of tubing connecting to that, and then the rest of the tubing connecting to that, and then that will get our bubbles. So I'd just like to point out, I am not sponsored by Dimax, but they have lots of cool products. So this is a little USB clip-on light. They are 6 watts. They retail under $25, so they're a super cheap, easy to use little light. Only thing that it doesn't come with is the little USB plug, but you can use a normal phone plug to plug it into if you don't have a USB plug on hand. Very, very easy lights to use. That is all you get in the box. You get a flexible arm, you get your LED, and I think this one is the 6 watt one. There is a 4 watt one as well, which is a little bit smaller. There is a switch on, off, and your little plug. So we're going to try and hide this light as well, like we have with our filtration. So I'm not too sure if I'm going to put it on the side like that, or on the back of the tank. We're going to figure that out. But the whole idea of this tank is to try and hide all the hardware, so it just is shrimp and an awesome tank. And we have some driftwood. So this is from the Amazon. It's just a random Amazon wood. It is super, super cool. Check out the structure of some of this wood. So instead of filling the whole tank with wood and sort of running out of room for shrimp and so on and being able to get into the tank, I think with this idea, I'm going to attach it to the top. I'm not entirely sure how yet. Well, I know how, but how it's going to actually look. But we're going to just make a cool little rim around the top of the tank with our bits of driftwood, and we're going to glue the pieces together again with our compost seal. So you can glue wood to rocks, as I said, or rocks to rocks and wood to wood. So we're going to do that, and we're going to come back and see what structure we've got. And wood, you look at that. Yes, I know, that was a dag joke. We have a whole lot of pieces of wood completely locked together with our compost seal to make one awesome piece. I nearly dropped it then. And that is just going to sit on a tank like that. So if we want access to the tank, we can just lift the whole entire thing off and it will just sit there perfectly. How easy is that? This honestly took about 5 minutes to do. It is just bonded in a few different places. You can go as crazy as you want to do with this, but this is nice and simple. So back to our light. We kind of want to hide it a little bit. So that's why I've got this bigger bit here. I reckon, hopefully, I can just hook the light in there. Oh, I haven't actually tried this yet. Oh, it should work. It does work. Kind of works. Yeah, look at that. There you go. How good is that? So we can still see that part of the light, but that doesn't really matter. If you do want to hide bits like that, you could easily glue some driftwood to that and you would completely have an invisible light. But that's nice and simple. We can still take it fully apart. We can still clean the aquarium and we're not disturbing anything. We're just lifting the top off. But that is where we are with that. So the next thing we're going to do is fill them up with water. So we're just going to use dechlorinated tap water. We're going to give it about 4 or 5 days to see what our pH is with our substrate. If our pH is still above 7, we're going to put a little bit of pH down in, which is sodium biphosphate. A little bit each day till we balance our pH at 7. Then we're going to come back and we're going to plant some plants. And we've jumped a few days. So this is about 4 or 5 days later. We have a bubbling shrimp volcano. Check that out. It's actually working. Well, not that it wouldn't work, but how cool does that look? So very, very simple idea. So with our driftwood, we did pre-soak it, but once it gets wet like that, you're going to get a little bit of biofilm building up on the wood, and that can create a lot of tannic acid. So if you're going to recreate this and you haven't soaked your wood first, just soak the wood for about a week or two until it's fully soaked through. You get a lot of tannic acid coming out of it, and then that way, once it's placed into a tank like this, it's not going to get a heap of biofilm or alter your water chemistry. So our Dimax base soil is underneath our main soil. That's been slowly altering our pH and the water hardness the last week. We're hovering about 6.8. It's probably going to come down to about 6.5 or so, which is still within range for our neocaridina shrimp. So in a few days' time, once the pH is stable, we're going to start planting. And it is a few days later. We have just added some red neocaridina cherry shrimp. We have our plants in place, so we've only gone for a few strands of this grass, which is called Vallisneria. It is a very, very hardy, easy plant to grow. If you haven't had much success with plants before, Vallisneria is up there with one of the easiest ones to grow. And just at the front, we have a few little tufts of pearlweed. So this plant can take over, much like the grass at the back, the Vallisneria can, but we sort of want a nice sort of carpet, which is low maintenance. Both of these plants don't need very high light and they don't need very much nutrients. So a very, very good plant selection for beginners. Now, because we've only just added our shrimp in here, we are now going to add some of this stuff, which is stability. This is nitrifying bacteria. So you don't want to add this until you've got a little bit of ammonia present, and the shrimp as well as the decomposing plant material are going to produce a little bit of ammonia. So over the next week, we're going to monitor our pH, make sure it doesn't jump above 7. Sometimes rocks can alter your water chemistry, even though you've got substrate that's bringing it down and you're adding chemicals to the water to alter your water chemistry. Every now and then your rocks will jump it up or down and what have you. So very, very important that if you do have any ammonia, you want your pH just below 7, where it's non-toxic. So it's going to be NH4 below pH 7, it's going to be NH3 above a pH of 7, which means more toxic. But that is where we are with our tank. Once it does take over, it's going to look like this little tank around here. And that is our carpet of the same pearlweed. So obviously it's not going to go out of control like it has in this tank because we're just going to prune it. But that is where we are with our plants. If you did enjoy this video, click the thumbs up so I know. If you've got any questions about this build or a similar build, just comment in the comments. I'll get back to you. But that is a basic little shrimp tank setup. And if you click the videos on the screen, you'll see how to join the rocks together using the compost seal and a few other interesting videos.